You look like a floating head in a tree.
I like it.
Look, there's my body.
For recording, I feel like I have to behave now. Oh, Diane changed your name.
I did it for her.
Oh, so they'll all pop in at 6:30.
Yep.
And Seal Haver raised her hand. Sarah, just tell me when to start.
Let's maybe give till 32. So wait 1 more minute and see if we got some more people logging on. I think you're good to start whenever you're ready.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for Is It Depression or Is It Just Moodiness? I'm Wendy Wilson. I'm a school psychologist with Center Grove. Also on my, I'm going to call him my panel, my posse, is Sarah Campbell, who is our crisis and family liaison for the district. Dr. Lindsay O'Haver, who's also a school psychologist in Center Grove, and Diane Hunter, also a school psychologist in Center Grove. We're doing these parent series throughout the year on topics that we feel are important related to mental health. And this one is very important to me, as you'll hear. If you have questions as we go, just pop them in the Q&A or in the chat. Sarah will be monitoring them. If it's something that she can answer right away, she will, but otherwise we'll kind of go through some at the end. Let's see. So a little bit about me. I've been a school psychologist for 19 years. I've worked in private practice. I've worked in about 3 different school districts. I've worked anywhere from kindergarten through college students, a few adults. I've been with Center Grove for 7 years. I'm married. I have 3 kids who, as of next week, will be 23, 19, and 17. In the past 2 to 3 years, I've probably talked more and more with parents about their depressed children, what it looks like in children and adolescents, sharing with parents that what I think is going on is depression, and the concerns that we see at school. And with all of that knowledge and all of that experience, I completely missed it in my own daughter. So my 19-year-old was diagnosed with depression this past June, and we've been dealing with it ever since. It's been definitely a journey, which is why I said this is very personal to me. And so I just want to share my experience with you, some things that you need to know, and maybe some ways that we can address this together. So Sarah is going to talk about statistics.
Yeah, so when talking about a topic, we always want to share why this topic is important. And so here you can see I pulled the national statistics from the National Institute of Mental Health. And you can really see how they've increased in the last year. Well, this was 2021. Data is a little behind, but still relevant. So you can really see the females have kind of skyrocketed more than the males. And I think we're seeing that in our district as well. So that's just really important to note that we're seeing this nationally. But the next slide, I have some data for our district. So within Center Grove, we have Community Health Network, who provides our school-based mental health services. And so we have a provider in all of our schools, and of their clients, they have 26% of them are diagnosed with a depressive disorder. That might not seem like a high percentage, but when you look at how many kids that actually is, it's quite a few. So definitely relevant. We're definitely seeing it here in Center Grove. And I'm sure our surrounding schools are as well. You also can see here, this isn't specifically for our district, but since the pandemic, we've really seen a skyrocket in depression in our youth. And specifically parents are noticing it. And so this graphic here shows depression parents have noticed a 31% increase in teen girls and 18% in teen boys. So I thought that was interesting data. And then at Center Grove, we have 504s that we offer our students, and 31% of those are due to anxiety or depression. So we kind of lump those two together, but 31% is quite a large number. So these data points definitely show us that depression is happening right here, right home with our youth. And so we're very excited to have Wendy talk more about how we can see it and how we can help.
So let's dig in. I saw this on Instagram last night and I just thought it was so appropriate. If you know anything about cats, they're very aloof and irritable. And although I like cats, but they don't like me in the way that I want them to like me all the time. So teenagers are just like them. They love snacks. They're moody. They're cute. They nap all the time. They hide when you want to cuddle. They're sweet one minute and hiss the next, and they might claw your eyes out if you try and hug them. So that's pretty much exactly what teenagers are like. So let's talk about typical teenage behaviors. It is typical for teenagers to spend increased time alone in their room. They can spend hours in their room with their door shut and only come out for food most often, or drinks, or to grab something that they forgot. They also change their tone of voice when they speak with you. Boys, especially when speaking with their mothers. When my son was in middle school, I cannot tell you how many times I said, you need to watch your tone. It's not what you're saying to me, it's how you're saying it. And I need you to change the tone. So they sound just irritated and annoyed all the time when they're talking with you. They can be irritable. They spend a lot of time in their bed or playing on video games. They sleep a lot. Research shows that actually teenagers increase sleep from when they were younger. They sleep more than they were before they hit puberty. And they tend to, their melatonin kicks in later, so they tend to stay up later, but they need more sleep. So where they may have been going to bed at 9, their body is not ready to go to sleep until 10:30 or 11, and they actually require more sleep than you would expect. They change their eating habits. They may change their friends. Friends come and go as interests change, especially in middle school and high school as you're figuring out who you are. And they can be sad, and it's normal for teenagers to be sad. We all have periods of sadness. So what does it make it different from depression? Depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. It affects how you feel, think, and behave, and it can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. So when we think of depression, I always think of Eeyore. Eeyore is my favorite. He's my depressive little donkey that's just kind of head low, and he speaks slow, and he's just a little sad. We think of people not getting out of bed for days or long periods of time. We think about them having a sad, or what we call a flat affect, which means they don't have a lot of facial expressions. They're not leaving their house, or they're unable to work. They're crying a lot and they're low energy. That's kind of what we think about with depression. But what it actually is symptoms occurring most of the day, nearly every day, for a period of 6 months. It has to be a significant period of time. Most people are not going to hold you to the 6 months, but they're going to want to see this for a significant amount of time. Feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, or hopelessness, angry outbursts, irritability or frustration, even over little things. Loss of interest in or pleasure in most or all normal activities. This is a big one to watch out for us. Such as hobbies or sports, things that they used to love to do, they suddenly don't want to do anymore. Sleep disturbances, including insomnia or sleeping too much, tiredness and lack of energy. So even small tasks take a huge amount of effort. Reduced appetite and weight loss, or the complete opposite, increased cravings for food and weight gain. They can cause anxiety, agitation, and restlessness, where they can't sit still and they're worried all the time. It can cause slowed thinking, speaking, or body movements, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fixating on past failures or self-blame, trouble thinking, concentrating, making decisions, and remembering things, frequent and recurrent thoughts of death, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, or suicide, and unexplained physical problems such as back pain, or other symptoms. And again, this needs to be for a period of time, and they don't have to exhibit all, no one has to exhibit all of these symptoms, but they need to exhibit probably 6 or 7 of them for a significant period of time. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I can look at diagnostic criteria and diagnose myself all the time. So please don't look at this and go, oh my goodness, I have depression. If you had suspicions of that before, then maybe you should look into that. But if you did not walk into this thinking you have depression, maybe you don't. You can really talk yourself into fitting things. Depression in children and teens looks a little different though. In younger children, depression includes sadness, irritability. This irritability is a big thing, that chronic irritability, clinginess, where they don't want to leave. They worry, they complain about really vague aches and pains. They may refuse to go to school, or they might be underweight. In teens, you see sadness, but remember, sadness is normal. We all feel sadness at times, but that chronic irritability where you are walking around on eggshells around your teen or your child all the time because everything makes them angry or annoyed. That chronic irritability is a big sign. And I see that a lot at school when I'm talking to parents. Feeling negative and worthless, anger, poor performance or poor attendance at school, feeling misunderstood and extremely sensitive, using recreational drugs or alcohol. They will self-medicate. If they stumble into that, that will give them an escape from how they're feeling. Eating or sleeping too much, self-harm, loss of interest in normal activities, and avoidance of social interaction. Again, they don't have to have all of those symptoms, but if they have quite a few of those symptoms, that is cause for concern. So let's go back to those typical teenage behaviors. I said more time spent alone in the room, like hours in their room with their door shut. Are they sleeping all the time? I don't know. Their door shut, you don't know. that tone of voice. Are they irritable? Are they annoyed at little things? If they're asked to do something, does it take a great amount of effort? Spend time in their bed or playing video games, which is a way of escaping. They sleep a lot. They have changes in eating habits. They have sadness. All of these things sound like depressive symptoms, but I've already told you all of these things are normal, typical teenage behaviors. So how can we tell? How do we know the difference? Well, the key to anything, so depression, anxiety, we all have some of these features of these different disorders. When it becomes a problem is when it impacts your ability to live your life and do your life functions. So if your kid's irritability is suddenly chasing all of their friends away, or they're sleeping and their lack of wanting to do anything is now preventing them from getting their schoolwork done, or preventing them from doing activities they used to love, then that is a problem. And that's when it's impacting their life or their ability. So for most people, symptoms are usually severe enough to cause noticeable problems in day-to-day activities, work, school or social activities, relationships with others. Some people may generally feel miserable or unhappy without really knowing why. So what causes depression? There's actually a lot of causes. It's usually not one single thing. It's many of these things all together. If you have any type of history of depression in your family history, then your child and even you are more susceptible to depression than someone who doesn't. People can carry the genes for specific things that are never triggered. You can carry the gene for schizophrenia and never express any of the symptoms unless there is a major stressor in your life that will kind of turn that gene on. And the same is with depression or anxiety or any of that. If you have ever watched Criminal Minds, we're a big Criminal Minds house family. They always talk about what is the stressor that made this person start doing these horrible deeds. And it's usually that's what happens, is there's some sort of stressor. That stressor could be a major life event like a death, a divorce, a dramatic change of circumstances, the end of a relationship. You could have lots of mild to moderate life events all at once, change in schools, moving, change in relationships, conflicts. Think about our pandemic. Think about our kids who are transitioning to high school when we went into quarantine, like our 8th graders. Like that quarantine was a major life event. Changing schools and transitioning to a new school was probably a moderate life event. People moved, they lost people. Like that is a lot in itself, just those things. Medications can cause depression. If your kid's on Accutane, it's actually a side effect of Accutane. My youngest daughter has been on Accutane, and that is something that I really watched and I would analyze all the time. Like, is this irritability normal irritability? Is she just being moody, or is this something going on? But if you're seeing a change in your kid and they've changed medications at all, please look at the side effects of the medications. Serious illness or other mental illnesses. IBS is something that can cause depression. I can't even imagine serious stuff like cancer or fibromyalgia, or just really big serious illnesses that don't cause a lot of external things, but internal things can cause depression. Gender, females, we're so lucky, are twice as likely to suffer from depression than males, and substance misuse can actually cause depression. One of the reasons that meth is such an addictive drug is it gives you such a high, but it's the crash afterwards that causes you to want to do it again, because you are depressed when you crash from the drug and you don't want to do anything. And so that makes you want to do the drug again, and that can cause depression. So what's the difference between depression and grief? So grief, it's a normal response to loss. Losses that lead to grief include the separation of a loved one, the loss of a job, death, any number of life changes, divorce, because we actually grieve for what was. Pre-pandemic, we grieve for what was. Becoming an empty nester, I'm on the verge of that myself. Retirement, that's grief. We're mourning the loss of something that was important to us. And anyone can experience grief and loss, but not everyone will experience depression. The depression has that range of other symptoms like that negative self-worth, the negative thoughts, not wanting to live. Whereas grief is that loss and emptiness for what was. You can still feel pleasure. You're still interested in things, but each person is unique in how they talk and cope with these things. Okay, I need to talk about some scary stuff because it's important that we talk about it. Self-harm. It's also known as cutting. If you've ever heard people talk about cutting, it's intentionally inflicting harm on your own body as a coping mechanism for dealing with feelings that are overwhelming. We see teens cut their arms, the top of their thighs. They'll cut them with razors. I've had someone get desperate and cut them with toenail clippers. They might burn themselves. It's intentionally inflicting harm. It's more common in females than males, yay us. It's often a physical representation of internal pain, and it kind of distracts them from what they're feeling inside because they have something else to focus on. It typically doesn't mean that the person is suicidal at all. But they are more at risk for that because if the cutting is not doing it for them anymore, they may get more daring in what they do. So as I said, it's a distraction from what they're feeling inside. It causes a sense of relief because when you are hurt, your body releases endorphins and it gives you a rush of feeling better. It can provide a sense of control. And like I said, it often occurs on arms or legs. It can also occur on the torso. If you want to know if your teen is cutting, ask to see their arms and legs, ask to see it up high, ask to look. I know that this seems intrusive, but we're talking about keeping your loved one safe. So if you suspect this or you wonder about it, ask. If you notice that your teen is wearing long sleeves all the time, even in situations that they don't normally, or pants, ask to see, because that is something that you need to know. That is a big warning sign. Even scarier, we're going to talk about suicide. Suicide occurs when individuals feel there is no way to solve their problem or no help with their emotional distress. They literally feel like there is no way to solve this problem, even though it's a problem that you and I can find 10 different ways to solve. They are in those feelings and cannot see a way out. Asking someone if they're having thoughts of suicide does not give them the idea. So please do not feel like you cannot ask. I ask my daughter all the time, are you having thoughts of harming yourself or suicide? Because I need to know. And they need to tell someone. Oftentimes, if you ask, and they say yes, there is relief there that they can share that with someone, and you are that support person for them. So if they're thinking about it, even vaguely, it's very important to know. It's very important to ask. And if your child admits to thoughts of suicide, please follow these steps. Talk to them in private. Make sure you are listening to them. Do not argue that it's not a problem, that they're making a big deal. Listen to them. Your job is to listen to their concerns. They are not in their right mind. If you're thinking of ending it all, you are not thinking clearly, and you need to listen to their thoughts. Tell them you care about them. Ask directly, are they having thoughts of suicide? Calmly and without judgment. Don't say, you're not having thoughts of suicide, right? You need to ask and allow them to answer. Show understanding and take their concerns seriously. Let them know that their life and they matter to you, and you stay with them. You do not leave them alone from that point forward until you get them help by calling 911 if you can't keep them safe, by taking them to the emergency room or transport to Bella Vista or Community North Crisis Department for an assessment. These things are scary, but it is even scarier not to know and be wrong about something that you are suspicious about. So please have those open conversations. And if you don't feel like you can, share your concerns with a guidance counselor, with the counselor, with a teacher, anything, because we have protocols at school that we will follow. And sometimes kids are more able to tell us things because we're not emotionally involved. So I've told you all these horrible, horrible things. So now let's talk about how do we treat depression. Medication. I'm going to tell you that I am not a medication first person. I personally don't take medication unless I absolutely have to. I don't take cold medication. That's not, I don't like to not feel like me. I'm very sensitive to that. However, for the treatment of depression, it is a chemical disorder in your brain. And the medication takes the edge off the depression enough that you can start treating it in other ways. Medication is very, very important for depression. People do not will themselves out of depression no matter what they tell you. They are not going to will themselves out of it. They're not going to essential oil themselves out of it because it has to do with neurotransmitters, which are how your brain communicates, and serotonin. Serotonin is what regulates your body, and it takes time. It takes time to figure medication out. You often have to take a medication consistently for 4 to 6 weeks to build a therapeutic level before they know if it's effective. Because of that chemical imbalance in the neurotransmitters, it's thought to be related to serotonin. And then these SSRIs that you see on the screen, those are select serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I love this stuff. I wish I would bring up a nerve and diagram it for you because I love all this brain stuff. But basically what it does is it lets there be more serotonin available in your brain. And that is what helps you bring out of that depression. There is also a cost-benefit ratio, the benefits versus the side effects. You have to figure that out in terms of what are the benefits that you're seeing from the medication and what are the side effects and are they worth it? Always, always, always be aware of the side effects of medication as they are starting so that you know what to look for and you know what is the result of the medication and what is the result of just the depression. Therapy. Therapy is an important part of treatment because the individual needs to learn coping skills to deal with their emotions. They need to identify triggers. They need to recognize changes and how they're feeling and what those changes mean and create awareness about their depression in general. It also allows someone else to monitor your child's risk of self-harm and suicidal ideation because they'll have those conversations with them as well. It's really, really important to do therapy because if they don't recognize what their symptoms are, they won't recognize when those symptoms start to come back. Exercise. Exercise is one of the best ways to release endorphins and help you start feeling better while you're working through therapy and medication. Exercise has been shown to support nerve cell growth in the hippocampus, which regulates our emotions. It improves cell connection, which helps relieve depression. It increases your sleep. Many of our individuals with depression struggle with insomnia. And it regulates your mood. If you can do it outside and see sunshine, that also boosts your mood when you're doing exercise. So exercise is super, super important. I can tell you that when you have depression, you're not motivated to exercise, but exercise is one of the best things that you can do. And it's easy. Like it's hard to get in the therapist sometimes. It's hard to work through the medications, but exercise is available anywhere because you can run, you can walk, you can do yoga, you can do all kinds of things. A huge part in the treatment of depression is social support. Depression has that quality of feeling very inward, and people with depression will isolate themselves from others. It's very difficult for people with depression to reach out and connect because depression is a huge energy drain. Isolation is not only a symptom, it's a contributor to the depression. It's a cycle. So social support is really important. And that can be your friends, family members, support group, therapists. It could be someone you reach out to when you're feeling down. Social support people notice changes and can intervene, assist, regulate your stress levels. They can pull you out to do positive things. They can go with you to exercise, which is a little more motivating. They can pull you into activities so you're not so isolated. They can provide emotional support, care, compassion, and empathy, and make you feel less alone. They can provide practical support. They can help you accomplish everyday tasks like grocery shopping, refilling prescriptions, scheduling doctor's appointments. They can give you informational support like advice, education, share information, offer guidance for big decisions or changes in treatment, suggest coping tips and techniques, help you problem solve. They can give you esteem support, boost your self-esteem, and help you remember your strengths. They, I will say, social media may not be the social support that your adolescent needs for depression. Social media contributes to that feeling of isolation because you have FOMO. You're watching everyone's human highlights of their best life, and you're filling in the blanks of this is what they look like all the time. They have the cleanest house. They're always out doing things. They always have so many friends. Look at how many likes they got on something. And so that really contributes to that isolation. You live in this small little world on a phone, and you're not interacting with people in real life. You're alone a lot and watching their human highlights, which makes you feel even more left out or more isolated. My 19-year-old is in college, and college is not what it was when I was there, where we went out and just met people all the time because you were around people. Now people are so on their phones that even when they're around people, they're not interacting with them, and you're still isolated. You can spend hours in your room by yourself, isolated on your phone. You don't go out and meet people, and so that contributes to that isolation. So what's the best treatment for depression? All of these. You need medication, you need therapy, you need regular exercise, you need social support. Those are the best treatments for depression. So back to me and my story. As I said, my daughter was diagnosed in June. I started noticing things probably in January. I noticed things throughout. I noticed that she was irritable about things that normally didn't bother her. I did not notice the amount of time she was sleeping, because prior to January, my daughter played volleyball year round for 4 or 5 years at a very high level. She stopped playing after her school season. That was planned. That wasn't a result of depression. She planned to stop playing. But I think stop playing, that regular dopamine and exercise contributed, that big change contributed to some of this. And so when she was home, because she played at a high level and had a busy schedule, she slept a lot when she was home, when she was playing. So to see her sleeping a lot when she's not playing is not abnormal to me, because to me, she's always catching up on sleep. I didn't realize how easily she was brought to tears. I didn't recognize that. I did notice that she was avoiding us, like hanging out with us. But what I really thought was she's getting ready to graduate and transition, and she's anticipating these big transitions and kind of mourning some of that. I thought she's not playing volleyball for the first time in 5 years, and this is normal. I thought, well, teens can be irritable. And but right around April, I would say April, I was still noticing it. And I I thought I finally went into her room one day and it was just me and her. And I said, "What is wrong with you? What is going on?" And she burst into tears and she said, "I cry every day. I'm so tired. I don't know what's going on." And I said, "I'm what, how long has this been going on?" And she said, "I told you. I've tried to tell you several times." And she did. And I did not listen because I chalked it up to she's transitioning out of being an athlete. She's transitioning into this. She's doing this. So I recognized what I missed and I went through tons of guilt and self-lashing and all kinds of things. I had the hard conversation with her. I asked her about her self-harm and suicidal ideation, and I'm very that has not been something that has she has had thoughts about. So I'm very blessed on that. I immediately made a doctor's appointment and shared our concerns. I emailed our doctor and said, "I'm worried that she's depressed." And I listed all the symptoms that she told me. And they immediately said, "Okay, we want to bring you in." And we had a doctor's appointment and he immediately started her on Prozac. She did Prozac from June until Thanksgiving. She felt better within a week of taking Prozac. Like after a week of taking Prozac, she was like, "Oh my goodness, I feel so much better." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, this was easy. We're on a road. Okay, great." And then she went to college. And a few weeks after being at college, she's like, "I've cried every day for 10 days and I'm just exhausted." And so I called the doctor and said, "Here's what she's reporting." And he said, "Let's up her Prozac." And I said, "Okay, great. That's a great decision." And again, within a week, she's like, "Oh my goodness, I feel so much better." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God. Here we go. We're fine." And then at Thanksgiving, she's like, this isn't doing it for me. Like, I'm still crying. I'm still tired. So we would have these boosts where she felt better and then she would plateau and start going back down. We went to the doctor over Thanksgiving break. He decided to change her medication. So we went from Prozac to Zoloft. I will tell you that it has been incredibly challenging. Zoloft takes up to 4 weeks before it starts to become effective. And the 4 weeks from the time that she was off the Prozac to when the Zoloft is starting to kick in, which is this week, she's had a really tough time. And it's been really hard for me. There's nothing I can do. Like, even if she was home, there is nothing I can do to make her feel better. So I am just constantly checking in with her. "How are you? What's going on?" She is struggling with sleep. She cannot sleep. She has really bad days and she has okay days. But we're starting the Zoloft starting to kick in. So she's starting to feel that a little bit. I've encouraged to exercise. I got her a gym membership so that she could exercise more regularly. I cannot make her exercise. I encourage it. I ask her to get a buddy. She does get friends. If her friends go work out, she will go work out. But I can't make her do that other than I encourage / nag her a lot. She started therapy and therapy was really hard. We didn't start anything this summer because I knew she was leaving. She goes to Ball State. I made her get in with Ball State's therapist and she hated it. She hated the therapist. She hated the intake person. And I told her, like, you need to give up more than one session. First of all, it takes time. And she found an alternative. One of her friends had found an off-campus therapy that they liked. And she said, "Can I try this?" And I said, "Yes, I will pay for it. Please go make an appointment." And she's only had one appointment, but she liked it much better. So we are doing therapy. I have honest conversations with her. I check in with her almost every day. Usually it's via text. "How are you feeling today? What is going on?" And it's hard when I hear what a terrible day she's had because she's been crying all day. It's hard. I am extremely lucky in that her best friend is at school with her, and that is not her roommate. They intentionally did not live together, but I have another set of eyes on her that I know if something were really wrong, that best friend would let me know. I also do a balance of, we talk about this. I tell her siblings, she's been diagnosed with depression. Like, we're making this a normal conversation, but I also sort of want to respect her privacy. And just so you know, I asked her if I could talk about this before I did tonight, because now I'm blasting it everywhere. But we make it normal conversation so that she feels like she can talk about it and it's not a secret. It's not something to be shameful. We are on a journey, and it has been hard as a parent to watch, because there's nothing I can do to make her feel better other than be her social support, and encourage her to do things. I know that one night I was texting with her and I'm like, she has found a really dynamic Bible study that she really likes on Wednesdays. And I said, are you going to Bible study tonight? And she's like, I don't feel like going. And I said, it is only going to uplift you. Like, you need to go. It's only going to encourage and uplift you. And she ended up going, and it was a good thing. But I can't make her do those things. I can only encourage and be that person and have those hard conversations with her to make sure that she's okay. But that is the journey that we're on, and it is a journey. And it's more difficult because I'm not even there to see her day to day. Now, she came home tonight and she's home for 3.5 weeks. And I can tell you that I'm ecstatic to have her home and to really see how she is. And she feels good to be home. But it's been hard. We've had hard conversations. We've had conversations about, is Ball State where you should be? I feel like if you were home, it would be worse. And she's like, no, I like Ball State. It's just this other stuff going on with me. So we have hard conversations all the time. But that is kind of where we are. So now I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, and she's going to talk about resources that you guys can use. My general practitioner is a really, really good doctor, but I will tell you, if this Zoloft doesn't work, I'm probably going to be looking for more of a psychiatrist, because we're getting out of the realm of his expertise. And I want to make sure that I have someone who's really well versed in all the medications out there and benefit, side effects, and what's best. So while it's great to start with your general practitioner for medication and try the Prozac and the Zoloft, which works for a lot of people, if this doesn't work for her, we're probably going to someone with stronger expertise.
Thank you, Wendy. So this first resource I have up here is called Therapist Aid, and this is a free website that I give out to parents all the time. And I use it for myself when I'm working with different kids at school, or I used to be a full-time therapist at community. And so I used it all the time there, as well as with my own daughter. So I highly recommend. They just changed up the website when I was looking at it today. So the format's kind of different for me, but it's got all the same stuff. So it's free of charge. You can go in there. You can see the top right screenshot there is what it will look like when you type in therapistaid.com. You can pick different things. My personal favorite is the worksheets tab. They also have a ton of good interactive activities and videos you can use, especially for the younger kiddos. If you think like they're not going to sit and do a worksheet with you, but they would maybe watch a video, highly recommend those. But so if you click on worksheets, if you click on worksheets on the top one, it takes you down to what you see on the bottom left. And then you can pick by what topic you want. So I went ahead and selected depression for us so we could see. And then it pops up literally pages of different worksheets that you can download and print off. So when I clicked on one, that's what the screen on the bottom right is. And you can see that you can just download the worksheet and you can print it. You can download it and do it electronically if you prefer to do it that way. But there's some really cool ones. There's some, if you have a littler kiddo, they have these really cool the words escaping my mind, flashcards. So like coping skill flashcards where they give you some examples, and so you can make the flashcards with your kiddos, and then they have these coping skills that they can use in the time, and you can practice with the flashcard standpoint, which is really fun. So highly recommend checking that out if you want some skills to work with your kiddo. Next, I put, we have this graphic on our website. So if you find that you're needing some extra support for your kiddo, or today you're like, I'm noticing some of those things in my kid, so I might need to talk further, you can check out this graphic on our website. But basically, we have a lot of different resources already available through Center Grove. So we have school social workers and school counselors at all of our schools, elementary, middles, and high school, readily available to help. So you can reach out to them. If you're at an elementary school or a middle school, you can look on the website and see exactly who your school has, so you can just contact them directly. We also have, like I said earlier, Community Health Network services in our school. So that's a school-based therapy and life skills program that is through like a health insurance program. So that would be billed through your insurance, and there is sometimes a wait list depending on the school that you're at, but that is really convenient because they're in the school, especially if you're seeing that your kiddo is having challenges at school due to their depressive symptoms, or even anxiety or whatever it might be. If that's influencing school, having those services in the school is usually really, really helpful. So that's an option. Let's see. I also have linked here, and you can see on our website, a parent resource of counseling agencies. So you've probably heard that mental health is skyrocketing. I think I've said that a few times. So community agencies are booked full. I mean, we're seeing wait lists everywhere. So we have a list on our website of all the local within Johnson County community therapy services that are out there. So you can take a look at that, and then you can pick which one looks like you're might be interested in and give them a call and see. But I also encourage you for that to kind of save you some time. There's two other things you can do. One being reach out to your school social worker or counselor. Once a month, I spend a good amount of time calling around to those community agencies we have listed there and seeing who has no wait list or short wait lists, and I provide them that list of 3 to 5 every month. So at the beginning of the month, they get that list. And we have 2 or 3 right now that don't have any wait lists at all. One of them is Reach for Youth, and they're not turning anyone down, no matter what even your insurance is. So you could have no insurance and they're doing therapy on a sliding scale fee. So highly recommend them. But if you don't want to explore that option on your own because it can be overwhelming, definitely reach out to the person at your school. You can also, though, on the next slide, I have psychologytoday.com. When someone gives me a call and they say, I'm looking for a therapist who takes this insurance and for this diagnosis, this is the website I go to. You can see on the left here, it says find a therapist and then therapist. You can see there's a little drop down. You can search for more than just therapists here. Wendy made the comment about switching from a general provider to a psychiatrist. You can actually use this to search for psychiatrists too, which is really great. So you could drop down there, you could pick psychiatrist, psychologist is on there. And then I used it the other day for IOPs. So you can look for outpatient, inpatient, residential, all of it. So you just search by the zip code. When you type in the zip code, you then get what's on the right here. And that, this was a while ago, so it'll be different, but you can see, oh, sorry. Oh, go back one more. Thank you. You can see on the right here, that first one is Carly Davis. So she has got her phone number. You can click, you can read her profile, learn all about her, what services she provides, her experience. But then you see this next, the bottom one, I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me pointing at it, but I know you can't. In the bottom right, you see a little yellow bar. You can hardly read it, but it says not accepting new clients. So that's really nice because then you know I don't need to waste my time calling them because I can't see it or they're not taking new clients. So that's a really helpful resource. And then we can go to the next one. The last thing I wanted to share about some different resources is services can cost a lot of money, and we hear that, and that's definitely a barrier we want to help break. So if you're unsure what services your insurance covers, I really recommend you just give that customer service line on the back of your card a call. If you're unsure if you qualify for Medicaid, that's another thing I can help with. So you could give me a call. I put my email below, so just send me an email and you can let me know you're interested in seeing if you would qualify. I can give you a call and we can screen to see if that's something that might be worth your time applying for. Medicaid does cover mental health services 100%, so that's really nice. So if you're on the fence of like, maybe I do qualify for Medicaid, definitely reach out and we can get that going for you. Private insurance, I feel like the most common we hear is they cover 6 sessions completely, and then you have like a copay or something after that. I feel like that's the most common we hear, but again, it's different per your plan. So I would just recommend giving them a call. And then I threw up here our QR code. So our next session is on January 17th. It's going to be ADHD. So you can scan this and register for that. But we also want to open up for questions. So there's the Q&A. We haven't had any questions yet, which I'm going to assume just means we are very thorough. But if anyone has questions and wants us to answer them, feel free to type them. If not, thank you so much for joining. We'll give it maybe 3 or 4 minutes to see if anyone types a question. Or while we wait, does anyone here get asked a common question that we can answer? Maybe a question that parents ask often? Put you on the spot.
I get asked a lot about how to find a therapist. I always tell parents, always go through someone who your insurance covers.
Yeah.
Because you will initially be like, I will pay for it out of pocket. And that's fantastic, but you can't sustain it in the long run. So please always go, your insurance will give you a list of people that they cover. So always use insurance, because most of the time you can't sustain in the long term paying for therapy as much as they may or may not need it.
Yes, that's a great point. I think, Wendy, too, that makes me think about, excuse me, EAP programs. So those employee assistance programs. I think there's a lot of employers that offer those that people don't even realize they have. And what's nice about those is I've seen or had parents reach out and then I've said, well, do you have an EAP? Because they can use their EAP for their kids too. And so they get in with a provider, and usually an EAP will cover, 4, 6, something for within a calendar year. But those people are all, if they're approved through your EAP, they're approved through your insurance if you're interested through your employer. And so you can just keep on. So you could do, say you got 5 sessions through your EAP, you could get your 5 sessions free. And then say your insurance approves for 6, then you get 6 more on top of that. And I don't think people realize EAP offers that.
And it does take time. Not every therapist is going to be a good fit immediately. Like I said, my daughter went to the campus-based therapist and absolutely hated her. And she called me leaving, going, I hate this. I'm not going back. And I said, well, you have to promise me to give it 2 more times. You have to give it at least 3 times. Because it's uncomfortable at first. So maybe you're not going to want to talk to someone who's asking you all these questions. But she found someone who was a good fit for her. And so I'm absolutely going that way with her, because it's more important to me that she does therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that she kind of got it through, you had shared she got it through a friend, which I think is nice, because sometimes hearing just a person you trust and that they had that good experience, it's a little more encouraging to go rather than just calling a name off a list. So
yeah. That
definitely.
Social support has been a huge thing for her. It is. We need people. People are what keep us going. Even when I'm the first one to tell you that I don't like people. I don't like going to crowds. I don't like this. I don't like that. But I feel refreshed after doing things with people or my social support, especially in winter. you know, it's dark at 5:30, so I want to get in pajamas and go to bed. But it makes it better. And that social support is so important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's see, we're at 7:24. We haven't had any questions, so I'm gonna take that as you just did an amazing job and no one has questions. But if anyone changes their mind and feels like they do have questions later, feel free to reach out. Send us an email, give us a call, whatever works for you. We're here to help. So
Sarah,
we-
is this posted somewhere?
it's not yet. We're recording now, so as soon as it's done recording, it'll be posted on Center Grove's YouTube page.
Okay.
That people can look, and I will send all of you guys on the panel the link to it so that you can share it out. And then I'll see too if we can share it on our social media just so parents can get it that way as well.
Okay. Well, thank you all for attending, and thanks for listening to my story, which is still an ever evolving story. I'm happy if you want to reach out personally and ask questions. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm the school psychologist at Pleasant Grove and Middle School Central. And I'm happy to talk to you if you have questions or concerns about your kid.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy.